Hey, you Slumpbusters, we are now into training camp. Fantasy football is in the air. On Juju Talk Sports, this is Drew Hagenbaugh, and we have an exciting wide receiver matchup on this episode of Fantasy Football Versus, or whatever we're labeling it. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Drew, according to your ranks, where do you have these players?
I got Amari just a tad bit higher than CeeDee Lamb. I pretty much have a back-to-back, but that's because they average close to the same numbers. When we talk about the difference between Dak Prescott being in and Andy Dalton being in, Dak Prescott really didn't go to CeeDee Lamb too much, as he favored Amari Cooper because they already had that connection when they were together for the last couple of years. So you saw that connection being brought in. CeeDee Lamb did get about an average of 7 targets from Dak Prescott, but he got more of his share from Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton utilized CeeDee Lamb a lot more, and we saw his production go up and Amari Cooper's go down. But Cooper still finished out with a very big season, and that's why ADPs and other fantasy websites and stuff like that has him like a wide receiver 16, 17 compared to CeeDee Lamb, who's like a wide receiver 24. But with Dak being able to play this season, the question is, does this happen again? Does Amari Cooper still snag the receptions while CeeDee Lamb kind of gets about half of what Amari Cooper gets? Or do we see a more even split of receptions? Like does Amari Cooper get 12 and CeeDee get 12, or 10 or 10, or 9 and 9? Or do we see this kind of like almost a significant drop in? There's what we talked about before the show where we mentioned that Amari Cooper would have 14 receptions compared to CeeDee Lamb's like 3 or 4 with Dak Prescott, and that was almost the case with both of them. That's the big question, is who's going to get the target shares?
Well, obviously, this is an offense that you want to be a part of. This is an offense you want some shares out of it. So having the number one wide receiver in this offense is a goal for any fantasy owner. And one of the big things right now at this specific time is Amari Cooper is currently on the PUP dealing with an ankle injury. Now, there have been some positive reports out of training camp. Some people saying he looks like in great shape. He's below any weight he's ever been at with the Cowboys. So that's positive. That's to say that he's on pace to be there week 1. But I do think that training camp snaps do matter a little bit. The ability to build rapport with a receiver. And as a rookie, I'm sure CeeDee Lamb didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to really work with Dak Prescott, especially considering everything that was going on last year with the COVID restrictions, social distancing, everything like that. It wasn't exactly a normal training camp for a rookie. Didn't even have really good OTAs last year. So add in a year, add in normal OTAs, add in Dak with his brand new contract, training camp, all this stuff trending in the right direction for these guys. I do think that Lamb has an opportunity to take that sophomore jump. It's going to be interesting to see what that balance is, because as we mentioned, so to go through it exactly, this was the target shares weeks 1 through 5 up until Dak Prescott got hurt. Amari, 14-6. They split even 9-9 week 2. Week 3, 12-7. And then week 4, huge outlier because Amari took 16 targets as opposed to CeeDee Lamb's 7. Almost doubled them up completely there. And then this kind of shakes it out a little bit awkwardly, but because it was a half Andy Dalton game, a half Dak Prescott game following the injury. 11 targets in CeeDee's favor for Amari Cooper. And they were so close. I mean, basically a point off in fantasy points per game. Considering the slow start, I think that's more impressive in CeeDee's favor. They're right in the same range. Now, I do think there's a scenario where it's possible that this offense is so prolific that they can support 2 functional wide receivers in fantasy. But I do think that one of these guys could be a firm, locked and loaded wide receiver 1 for you week in and week out. And that's the guy that we want. So you're saying Amari Cooper right now. I'm feeling CeeDee Lamb breakout. I just like the idea of him having that extra time to work with Dak over this offseason, get antiquated to the playbook. And they don't give receivers number 88 in Dallas for no reason.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, because I'm actually telling people I feel like this Dak and CeeDee Lamb connection can build in training camp, practices, OTAs, not COVID where everything is done online and you just have to text each other and build a connection through messaging and Zoom calls and stuff like that. I know that Dak feels a lot more comfortable with Amari Cooper and as his go-to man. So all in all, it's who's going to be running the better routes, who's going to be more open, who's Dak gonna feel like his number one option would be. Like we said, it was Amari Cooper this past season. And then when Andy Dalton comes in, it flip-flopped to CeeDee Lamb being the number one, basically, and Amari Cooper being the number two. I prefer CeeDee Lamb because I think he can have a huge jump in numbers, but that's to say who's Dak gonna throw to the most and who he feels comfortable with.
I think, there might be a slight variation to point out here in PPR versus standard or PPR versus half-point PPR. I think that Amari has the opportunity to dominate the middle and be a better receiver for you in a PPR, half-point PPR setup. However, I do think that the big play potential that CeeDee Lamb does tend to have in his skill set may make him a more appealing standard play in some weeks, because you look at the highlight tape of CeeDee Lamb, what he was doing at Oklahoma, the guy just has breakaway speed. He's one of the most exciting wide receivers I've come through the draft in recent years. And then you look at Amari Cooper, the guy's just a really great route runner, and I do think that that's why Dak Prescott does look for him and appreciate his leadership at that wide receiver position. And it works to your advantage. Anytime Amari Cooper sees the Eagles across from him on the other side of the field, he tends to dominate. So definitely hammer that matchup, string bring that week.
Yeah, no, and also too, to put in a dynasty perspective as well too, for me, I personally have CeeDee Lamb in my dynasty team because I think that for the future, CeeDee Lamb is a lot of a better option than Amari Cooper, because Amari Cooper was available, but I chose CeeDee Lamb over Amari Cooper because I feel like when the years come, you're going to see kind of like a shift to where Amari starts losing those touches and then all that target should start to go to CeeDee a little bit more, and you start to see what happened to Amari Cooper this past season, where CeeDee Lamb might be getting 16 targets to compare to Amari Cooper's 7. And it could be because Amari's getting a little bit older. Maybe he starts losing that speed a little bit. Or, like we said, he's on the PUP list right now because of an ankle injury. So who knows if that could be nagging him for a little bit. For the future and the long term, I choose CeeDee.
Well, when you're paying the quarterback $45 million a year too, eventually you're going to have to start making some salary cuts. So who knows what Amari Cooper's future is going to be in the next couple of years, to really speak on that dynasty perspective. Whereas, again, if you're Jerry Jones, you drafted this kid number 17 overall, he's yours, whereas you acquired Amari Cooper through a trade. CeeDee Lamb is your guy. Again, they unretired 88 for a reason, because they want him to be in a Cowboys uniform basically until he retires. So I do think that, hands down, CeeDee Lamb is definitively the best dynasty play. And that's crazy too, to also say, because Amari Cooper is really not that old when you really look at it as well.
Right.
Both these guys are still in their 20s, but it just happens that CeeDee's got a little bit more youthful enthusiasm behind him. But anyway, Slumpbusters, let us know, which Cowboys wide receiver are you targeting this year in your lineup? Do you prefer Amari Cooper? Are you more CeeDee Lamb? Or maybe you're going with the surprise pick and you like Michael Gallup? Let us know in the comments. Leave a like on this video, and of course, subscribe to the Slumpbuster on all your favorite streaming platforms. Subscribe to us on YouTube, as we want to get this up over 2K for this football season to make sure you bust the slump and win your league. Best way to bust the slump? Check out our partner, cavemancoffeeco.com. Yes, don't be a chump. Use promo code SLUMP and save yourself some money on some delicious cold brew coffee at cavemancoffeeco.com. Anyway, guys, Juju Talk Sports, Drew Hagenbaugh. We'll see you next time.